What's your favorite scary movie?
Be like, I'm dying.
If some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, they guys," I'm like, "It's over and done. We're married now."
Someone in the movie, so I'm like, kiss. But
Oh God, what a sea of humanity.
Da-da-da. What's going on? Welcome everybody into 52/1994, a bonus episode.
Bonus.
Bonus. Welcome in. We're doing a bonus episode where we have categories, I guess, for the month, and you can choose to watch these movies that I'm talking about, or you could just try and remember them from your childhood, which I bet a lot of us probably do. I'm the only psychopath that goes back to watch movies like Baby's Day Out. But this month we're talking about rich kids movies, and out of those rich kid movies from 1994, we can talk about others as well. But I chose three of them. One of them, Richie. I just saw your name, Richie Rye. Speaking of Richie Rye, Richie Rich, starring Macaulay Culkin, and Blank Check, which I think was a fantasy of every child, or at least every boy I know, and Baby's Day Out, the aforementioned. So Ryan is chosen to join, Richie Ryan, and we're going to talk about some of these movies. I don't really have an agenda, but just kind of free-form discussion. So first off, how's your day been?
It's been pretty good. I spent most of the day watching these movies.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
I got paid to do it, no problem.
Yeah, that's always nice to get paid to watch these movies. I did get paid to watch these movies too. So I was trying to think
for all three of these movies. Baby's Day Out is the longest and most expensive on Amazon.
I think, is Baby's Day Out on? It was that one was on Disney Plus, which was surprising. And so was Blank Check, and then Richie Rich I had on VHS. It's playing behind me, so I was lucky enough to watch that one. But I did watch them all three. Which one was your favorite out of the three?
Well, I didn't get through. That's the funny part too. Is somebody asked me to work after I started. Right after I rented Baby's Day Out and was 15 minutes in, I got an email and had to do some work. And then that's all I watched of it. That's all I'll ever watch of it, because once this podcast is over, I'm not going to go back and finish it. So I bought $4.50 worth of Baby's Day Out, and then now I'm done. So I didn't get to see that one. Knowing it would be the worst.
I do think that you should go back and watch it.
You think I should check it out?
Yeah. I mean, we've watched plenty of bad movies in our.
I might fall asleep to it. Let's see how far.
Yeah, that it's got some like good whimsical moments and circus music that might put you to sleep. I don't know.
Well, I'll get into it. The most I have to say about it is I just assumed that I knew. I never saw it as a kid, and so I get it. Like it's Mr. Magoo except with a baby. And so the whole world setup, I didn't see that coming. I thought we would just start with a baby already gone into the world, but no, there's a lot of world building there, and the parents and then the crooks, and it did seem whimsical, a little more thoughtful than I was expecting. But
yeah,
I'm sure it's out the window quick.
It's basically it would have been better if it would have been like a silent movie.
Yeah.
I think so. I think without I think Nutshots might be funnier if there's exposition around it.
I guess my hesitation is I see what you're saying, and I think you're right. It would have been better, but it was always going to be bad.
Yeah.
For me personally, I'll never care about a baby because unless it's my baby. But even then, they're dumb and they can't talk.
They don't know math.
They don't know science.
They have no appreciation for art.
Yeah, they have less intelligence than a flat earther. Why would I want that to be my hero?
It's so true. And The only thing that I really want to discuss about Baby's Day Out, and you get a little bit of it. I don't know if it's in the first 15 minutes, but Cynthia Nixon's a character in this movie. I think she's playing a British nanny in the to these very rich parents. One's played by Laura Flynn Boyle, and then the other one is Julia Gulia's soon-to-be husband in The Wedding Singer.
I knew I recognize it somewhere.
Yeah, I was like, I had to look it up because I was like, that guy's so familiar. But anyway, it feels like there, and I'm pushing this agenda in here, is that there is a lesbian relationship between the nanny and the mom. And I do not feel like that dad cares that much about that baby. It is these two women raising this child together. And that is part of the reason I got through that movie, is believing in this affair that's happening.
Okay. I could see that, I guess. Although the only interaction I saw between them was the nanny being like, hey, shouldn't we like do this for the baby's sake? And the mom was like, fuck off. I'm doing what I want.
I do think there's like one other time in the movie, I think it's later in the movie, where they're the only ones that are really, really concerned about the child. Also, it's weird with this rich kid genre. You see it more in this movie or in Baby's Day Out, and then also Richie Rich, that I'm supposed to care about these rich kids, especially in Baby's Day Out. Like, I'm supposed to care about this rich baby. Well,
we hadn't yeeted these people yet. We still wanted to be them.
I guess that's true. I mean, that's what makes Richie Rich cool.
Yeah. Well, the conversation, I mean, in the two that I watched, but I can imagine the Baby's Day Out is like, oh, this all just reads so different post having a national conversation about like income inequality. Like in the mid 90s, it was just like, yeah, some people get to be rich and that's okay. And we all want to be them. And I don't know. Certainly in Richie Rich, I loved the idea that the two richest people in the world were just like, never fired anybody, never closed a factory down, gave all their money away, and that just worked out for everyone. They were like the coolest billionaires ever.
Yeah, and very in love with each other too. Like,
yes, their relationship is very charming.
I did like that part. I think I enjoyed Richie Rich more this time around than I thought I would. And I liked Blank Check less this time around than I thought I would.
You've been talking shit about these movies for a minute. I had a lot of nostalgia for Blank Check, and I think it mostly held up. And even as a kid, I thought Richie Rich was mid but fine, and that's how I felt about it on the rewatch.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are great.
No,
but I mean, I do have.
I pride myself on not being like a nostalgia person, like knowing the difference between what I have nostalgia for and how good it is versus like rewatching and being able to like separate, objective opinion from nostalgia. I have a lot of nostalgia for Blank Check, and rewatching it, I was like, pretty cool movie.
No, it has got a lot of like really good character actors in it that I love. Like even from Preston's dad to
Preston's dad does a good job.
Preston's dad's great. I mean, the banker guy, you've seen that's another
guy. Tone Loc.
Tone Loc, the bad guy, the main bad guy is in a ton of stuff. Even the girl, the woman who's the bank person, I think I talked about her last or two when we were talking about Reality Bites. She was also in Dumb and Dumber this year too. Like she has a brief role, so she's kind of like hot in 1994.
What?
And
the chemistry. Oof. The steamy chemistry between
I believe it.
Child.
Call me in like 8 years or 10 years. 8.
He's the FBI. I don't know who to call about that problematic relationship. Who watches The Watchmen?
I mean, okay. Should we talk about the kiss right now?
Yeah, let's just get it out of the way.
Let's just get it out of the way. Because I mean, I knew it was coming, and as a child, and my nostalgia for this, I'm like, hell yeah. Like I was all about that kiss.
Yeah, I didn't think twice about it.
Because she was a hot lady, and I was a 10-year-old boy too, or whatever. And yeah, I love that. I was into. She kisses him on the mouth for like 3 seconds at least.
Yeah, she does.
It is a very passionate kiss, and I think that you could have done that with like
It's not a very passionate kiss.
I mean,
But
not
it
like
is a
passionate,
romantic
but
kiss.
yes,
It's not
there
a
we
kiss
go.
in the cheek. It's not a kiss in the cheek. Have a good life, kid. Call me
Yeah.
when you're 18. Or actually, don't they negotiate? I didn't do the math. She's like, call me in 10 years when he'd be like 22, and then he's like 8, and she's like 7, and he's like 6, and he's like, all right, that's fine. Your 18th birthday, call me, sure, why not?
But I think of a movie like Big, you know, where we also have a problematic like older woman, but obviously Tom Hanks in a child's body, and when she finds out, she does like it immediately is like, I'm gonna kiss him on the forehead, and I mean that's a really special moment in that movie. I love Big, but like I think we could have gotten the point across without the
Yeah. I mean, look, I did. I mean, I know that some people have like not just in a jokey way, but have seriously raised concerns about the blank check kiss. It's occasionally happened online. Nobody cares that much, I guess. But yeah, like it'd be weird to see now, and it goes back to even like the take we have on rich kids and rich people. Like it's just a different world. I just feel like 1994. There is a part of our brains that understood sometimes adults hurt children, and a part of our brains that understood kids movies, and like they just didn't have to touch. Like we have a suspension of disbelief that blank check is happening in a world where none of these kids are in danger of like violence, right?
Right.
Like real violence. So that in that world, it's entirely acceptable. And that's part of the suspension of disbelief. And to try to force that world is happening in one as evil and cruel as the one outside the movie theater you're watching in isn't necessary. But we could also go forward from this moment, never having an adult actor kiss a child actor on the lips ever again. And I'm okay with that. That's probably what we should do.
I mean, I feel like there's probably more disdain for this kiss on the internet than there is for Brad Pitt kissing Kirsten Dunst in Interview with the Vampire, which we'll see later this year.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one because I've never seen it. Yeah.
So yeah, a very full-grown Brad Pitt kisses, or and maybe more so Kirsten Dunst kisses him, and maybe that's less of the why there's not as much is because she's making the move, I guess. So I see less discourse on the internet about that one, but you're absolutely right. This one, especially with millennials in the last like 10 years, they've kind of brought up this whole blank check kiss and made it a bigger deal than it is.
Right. Yeah, it's not a big deal to me, especially because it's certainly not like being enshrined, and it's 2 years away from being forgotten completely. Another thought, though, that just occurred to me, maybe even more problematic than that kiss, is the fact that she's like catfishing him the whole time. I mean, she's like leading him on. They're going on very romantic dates. Like she never says it out loud, but clearly this kid is trying to woo you romantically. And so like, I don't think that he's going to grow up one day and be talking to his therapist about that closed-mouthed 3-second lip kiss, but maybe about his relationship with dating and women might be affected by the fact that like this grown woman allowed him to take her on multiple dates and buy her presents and clearly form a romantic emotional attachment to her, just to be like, I was fucking with you the whole time. You're just a dumb kid.
Yeah, I think Preston is going to have some issues in his relationships because of this thing. Not only like just this time period, this week in his life. Again,
days.
Yeah,
I was like, when that line came up, it was like, you spent $1 million, and I was like, in a month, like Brewster's Millions, in a month, and he goes, in 6 days, and I was like, fucking right, that's awesome.
And he got a best friendship with Henry.
God, Henry's one of my biggest memories about this movie, by the way.
I like that guy.
Is how much I love him as a character and thought he was a cool dude and a cool friend, and I wish I had that like adult friend in my life.
Yeah, I thought, and in the same way that we're talking about like this predatory kiss or whatever, like Henry was a good dude to Preston, and I felt like did truly care about him. Like
gave him good advice.
In the hour and a half movie that we have, I felt that from this character, which I like that guy. He was in I remember him mostly from this and The Burbs.
Oh, he was in The Burbs. I watched The Burbs once, and I enjoyed it. Yeah.
He's like Tom Hanks' best friend. I guess he's in he's one of the guys in Groundhog Day too. The drunk guys that he gets he drives drunk with them, and they're the bowling alley guys. So
it's funny in my mind. I 100% knew this wasn't like a number of other actors, but like this was also a little bit like John Candy in my mind.
Yeah, it's like a
Like-
poor man's John Candy.
Yeah, in my memory, like if you could have gotten John Candy for this role, he might have ripped by now or was about to. I don't know, but
He has. He died in 2015.
no, I was talking about John
Oh.
Candy. Yeah. in the
Oh,
90s.
sorry. No, this is the. Speaking of John Candy, 1994, I think, is the year that he passed away. Because
Wow.
I think Wagons East comes out this year.
Okay, yeah. You're
And
not
that
putting
was
that one
his-
on your list.
What'd you say?
You're not putting that one on the list. We're not going to
No.
discuss Wagons East for 90 minutes.
I don't think so. I don't know.
think so.
No, he died. Yeah, John Candy passes away in 1994,
Mm.
March 4th, 1994. 43 years old.
Imagine how this movie would have been, although the actor does a great job. Imagine how this movie would have been and how they may have rewritten it around him if John Candy had that role.
Oh yeah, it would have been way more focused on.
It'd
John
be,
Candy.
I guess it'd be an Uncle Buck ripoff, but like
Yeah.
it'd be pretty great.
You know, I hadn't seen Uncle Buck until this past year.
I still have never seen it. I've seen clips. I've seen like
It's
bits
good.
of it.
I
on
mean,
TV.
it's
Yeah.
great in that whole John Hughes like genre of like I would say this and like planes, trains, or that and planes, trains, and automobiles are in that same
Baby's
like.
Day Out. Yeah, these
Yeah,
are the
but
great John
I
Hughes
forgot that I forgot all about John Hughes writing Baby's Day Out. He was like, man, I hit it big with this Home Alone thing, and I could
Yeah.
do Baby
Let's go younger.
Younger.
Until
And
like
the-
Look Who's Talking 2 comes out, and then we've completed the the cycle.
This is probably pre-Baby Geniuses too, because we were talking about how babies are stupid because they are. But this baby comprehends an entire book so much to memory that it keeps visiting places that are similar to these things in the book.
I had that thought in the 12 minutes that I watched. I was like, I know this is like not a realistic movie, but the fact that this baby is obsessed with a single book, and is comprehending every like beat in the book is unbelievable to me. It took me out of it.
And he ends up at a nursing home at the end, not to spoil that movie for you.
Okay.
I don't know if
Wait, I hope that he ends up at a nursing home because we follow him through his entire life. Dying.
yes.
Or like the last scene. The last scene's a flash forward 80 years later, or like 90 years later, and he's like he's gonna have a grandpa's day out next. We just follow the same character.
It's actually just the repeat of the scene from 2001,
Yes,
where
exactly.
he sees himself dying in the bed. It's pretty great. Babies are dumb. Thank you for
Yeah, Jack gets it.
Chat gets it. What was I gonna say? I had something about about Blank Check that we bounced back to.
Yeah,
Baby's
yeah.
Day Out. But the dad in Blank Check has a great line at the beginning of the movie that I did not remember.
Mhm.
But he says that computer can do everything except teach you how to make love to a woman.
And then his wife goes, "I know what program to get you for Christmas."
Yeah. I was like, I don't think that joke makes sense.
Yeah.
If a computer can't teach you how to make love to a woman, why would you get him a program?
Yeah, computers were new. I also noted, this is 1994. Windows 95 comes out next year, and if this was made 18 months later, it wouldn't be a Macintosh.
Oh, that's a
Like
good
Windows
point.
95 brought PCs into everybody's homes in a new way, but this is like right before Windows pops off.
What's your name? Windows. I don't think it has the same.
I will
Doesn't-
say, like, none of them are so funny that they just like pop into my head immediately. There are a lot of decent jokes in Blank Check, and a lot of them are throwaways, like compared to
Mhm.
Richie Rich, at least. The actual humor is funny, and there are a lot of little lines. Like I remember the line from a kid where he's walking away, he thinks the check's not going to work, and he was like, "Do you want big bills?" And he turns around and goes, "Actually, regular sized ones will be fine." That's a decent enough joke. That's a better joke than anything in Richie Rich. You know, like,
That's,
there's a lot of
that's true.
Yeah.
I feel like I've given Richie Rich too much credit.
Mhm.
It's not great. That movie's not great. I think I enjoy Blank Check the most out of those, but like I was surprised how much better Richie Rich was than what my memory served me.
It moves at a clip. I did notice that actually the 90 minutes of Richie Rich went by really fast, and I was like, oh, everything just kind of naturally leads into the next thing, and it all kind of makes sense and logically plot wise. So I didn't feel like if I had watched Baby's Day Out, especially when it gets into long stretches, I assume of like a baby just crawling around while adults don't notice. I assumed that was going to be a slog time wise. But Blank Check and Richie Rich, they kind of moved along, and I wasn't bored, even
Yeah.
if I wasn't impressed.
And I mean, we talk about this a little bit with like the kids movies that or I talked about this a little bit with like the sports movies that I watched last month. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know what it is about kids movies. I mean, obviously I was a kid back then, but even watching these as adults, they just feel crisper and
Yeah.
not like I mean, I know all these movies are money grabs essentially, and everything, but they feel like they've actually cared about like making good kids movies.
Yeah, or it's like a formula. Like I don't know the last time I've seen a live action kid movie. I don't know that they make that many anymore.
That's another thing. Yeah, they don't
Probably
make.
made for streaming or made for TV live
Mhm.
action kid movies, and everything else is animated. That might affect it, but yeah, it's like a formula. Like they kind of know how long to make each scene. And I didn't get to rewatch the sports movies, but I remember them a lot. Like Little Big League, Rookie of the Year, Big Green. I watched those movies a million times.
Yeah,
And my memory of them is that they clip along pretty good too.
And I think those sports movies have a great formula to them as well. They all pretty much go the same route, whether it's even Sandlot or Little Giants and all that stuff. It's pretty much the same thing, you know, the lovable losers to winners. And
Okay, a tangent real quick.
please,
You're a baseball fan of sorts.
yes.
I'm seeing somebody who's a big baseball fan now, and I was talking to her, and I was like, "Hey, like a thing that was always weird to me because I only understood sports through movies as a kid was that baseball was the only sport like maybe this is Angels in the Outfield does this. One of those movies does that where like the big final game is we won the pennant.
Mm-hmm.
The pennant's important.
Yeah, I think winning the pennant was considered I mean, winning the World Series is a big deal, but the pennant, like winning your league, I guess, was seen as like the biggest deal ever.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what happens in Major League. They're going for the pennant.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens in Little Big League. Yeah. So I don't.
But as a kid, I was like, oh, the movie's over. I'm not, what, do they win the World Series? Like, no other sport's going to have that. Like the last season of the championship, you know, or like I guess there might have been like some football movies that'd be like, we won the season and we're going to go to the championship and you're not going to see that happen. But most of the time, the last biggest game of the year is what you end on. But in baseball, it was like, yeah, we won the pennant. And as a little kid, I was like, oh, I don't know what that is. And it doesn't sound like the World Series to me.
I used to think it was the World Series until I understood baseball a little bit better. I don't know. I think that maybe league play, maybe this was interleague play where the National League was now plays games against the American. I feel like there was just like a bigger stronghold on winning your league or a bigger point on winning your league. So
anyway, I mean that's a complete tangent. But since I
never think about it.
These are the movies that made me have that conversation with her. I was like, it was so weird to me as a kid to be like, all right, cool. I guess you like almost are the best baseball team, and then you know, like slow motion, freeze frame, and that's all I know about this team. They probably went on to lose the World Series.
Yeah,
nobody cares.
That's the best part about Little Big League is they don't even win the final. They don't even win the final game, so they don't even win the pennant.
Oh damn!
Yeah, spoilers. But they almost.
I read the novelization of Little Big League as a kid multiple times.
That's awesome.
It was great.
I still think that that's one of the best baseball movies that exists.
Because I also liked it as a kid who wasn't into sports, but into TV and movies, that the whole point was that he was smart.
Mm-hmm.
That he was a really smart kid. Yeah.
I can go on tangents about smart kids in movies and smart kids on television shows because they were always the ones that I gravitated towards. So whether it was Billy, the Blue Ranger in Power Rangers, I was always and I had a real like the glasses, the blonde hair.
Okay.
I was like, those were the guys that I always gravitated. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I always gravitated towards Donatello, even though Michelangelo had more fun. Donatello was the smart one. He was the one that put things together.
Was my favorite because he was the smart one.
Mm-hmm.
Representation matters, Cody.
I could see myself on screen in Donatello.
Yeah, exactly. And I know where to find a stick, and I know how to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's got the least deadly weapon, but none of them use their weapons in deadly ways. So that makes him the smartest.
The smartest, yeah.
I don't have to learn how to not hit somebody. I can just hit them. I don't have to learn not to stab somebody.
Right.
So, I don't know. Did you enjoy any of Richie Rich because Richard Gilmore
Yeah.
was in it?
Edward Herman, absolutely. Rip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that dude. And he's good in the movie. He's not it's funny too. Like it's funny watching some of these actors who are kind of like even like John Larroquette or whatever. It's like you're pretty storied actors and you've been in a million things and like Edward Herman, right, is not calling it in that movie. In fact, he's bringing a lot of charm to screen.
That's what I'm saying. I think there's just more care in these movies than maybe some like, or we're actually getting good character actors in these movies instead of phoning it in and getting somebody that doesn't act as well or is not as crafted as some of these guys. But Edward Herman,
people who are like, I don't know. I could tell there was some good ADR in both movies too, where I was like, oh, that's a pretty good joke, but it was clearly ADR.
Yeah.
All those characters, Blank Check too. Like we said, the three bad guys are all like they're all taking that movie seriously, and they're trying to be funny. I mean, little things about like Biederman and the kid in the office when he gives them the money or whatever. There's just like really good face acting from the Biederman guy that was like, yeah, this movie didn't deserve that effort, but you put it there.
I think another moment with the Biederman thing, just to kind of go on that, is like how happy he is to be fulfilling the favor for Quigley.
Yes.
Like he's like, I'm glad. He's like, oh, this is kind of clever, sending a kid kind of thing. Like you get
that's
that.
important because it's so silly and ridiculous that he actually makes it seem believable.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's staring at him confused. He goes, "That's genius!" Like he's writing the story of like, "Oh, that's genius. You're gonna like launder this thing, money through this kid, and nobody's ever gonna find out because it's a kid." And otherwise, it's insane if he doesn't actually like go through that whole emotional journey on his face and in his voice. And you're like, "All right, this all makes sense."
It all makes sense. Chat says, I think Eloise is another good example. Big name actors taking it seriously. I've actually never seen Eloise. I know.
I regret to say I've never seen Eloise either. I know the book, but I've never.
I know the books, but is it like Eloise at the Plaza? Eloise at Christmas time?
Plaza sounds right too. Yeah, Plaza.
Here she's absolutely right. Like Julie Andrews is in that movie. Jeffrey Tambor, Christine Baranski. These are all great. Like
I mean, it was 90s kids movies. It's Matilda. Look at how hard people are working in that movie.
Matilda's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we were doing Matilda. I love Mara Wilson.
Oh yeah, she's great.
She's great, and she showed up in Mrs. Doubtfire last year. It was on.
Oh yeah.
So let's see, Richie Rich. The thing I remembered two things about Richie Rich: the McDonald's, and how I thought that was the coolest thing in the world that this guy had a McDonald's. And that was like based on the popularity. Like 90s McDonald's is huge. Like Happy Meals. I mean, that was like the heyday. The Barbie and the Hot Wheels toys that you would get. Like
totally.
What's cooler than that? And then I remember the Robot Bee.
Oh, the Robot Bee. I didn't remember. I remembered everything about Richie Rich when I rewatched it. Like, I mean, all of it was familiar. Every scene, every actor. But before I watched it, my memory, funny enough, was the parents. I remember the big set piece at the end with them dangling. Like in my mind, they were coming through the nose, but that didn't actually happen.
That didn't actually happen. Yeah, I think the same thing. That's a Mandela.
Yeah, right. Poor Mandela. He worked his whole life for freedom.
Just become an effect. That's between the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah. And I remember them. I remember their plane blowing up. I always remember the smell of thing, and I remember him knowing the name for TNT. And I remember them in the boat. I remember all the scenes of them in the boat. So it's kind of crazy actually to think that like what I remember most about that movie was the parents.
Because I think they're the best actors in the movie, and I love that. I love the mom, his wife, Christine Ebersole is her name.
Right.
She, I guess she was on a couple seasons of Saturday Night Live.
It just occurred to me. Is she related to Bud Ebersole?
It doesn't look like it.
Okay.
Wait, but no.
Or Dick Ebersole. That's who I'm thinking of.
Oh, Dick Ebersole sounds way more familiar, but it doesn't look like she's related to him.
Okay, yeah, it's a TV exec. No, she was great. And again, we kind of already hit on it, but the choice to make them a loving couple who actually loved their child was pretty great. I think that helped that movie a lot, not be annoying.
Is it the fact that she's the mom in Mac and Me? Do you remember her from that?
I never saw Mac and Me.
Wow.
Though people love Mac and Me.
She's in Amadeus too.
Yeah, as we're talking about kids movies in 90s, well, this is the 80s, but I know one of my hottest cinema takes I've ever had is that even as a kid, I thought E.T. was mid. I thought I thought that movie kind of sucked.
I hate that take. I hate
know,
it. So
people do. And I also, everything that came out of it too, maybe even retroactively, maybe dislike it more because E.T. spawned so many movies where like a kid had to take care of some like, magical being.
Yeah.
I always attribute it to that I was already like really into Star Wars and fantasy and stuff. And so I didn't like necessarily movies about like where one magical thing is in a world just like mine. I wanted to go to a magical world completely different.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And all of the scenes that are just like, we got to hide E.T. from our mom, like, and put him under a lampshade. I was like, that's not fun. It's not magical. I'm a good kid. I'll just tell my mom I have a new friend. I don't know. Like, it all just seemed boring and lame to me. And I was like, when is he going to start firing lasers? So like the last third or fifth of E.T. when there's like dudes with pointing walkie-talkies at children and
pointing walkie-talkies. That's a good joke.
Yeah, right. The last bit when there's action, I liked it. So anyways, Mac and Me made me think of that. That's the thing I probably maybe stay away from it. Is it's another like, oh, we have this really cool, magical, powerful thing happening in our life, but it's not that powerful, and we mostly have to hide it from people. Yeah.
Now I would love to see. I know there's a list somebody made of all of those movies. Mac and Me, it's because there's a lot of like animal ones too. Like that was a big thing, and like I think I'm actually doing one of these episodes just about kids movies in 1994 that are animal related.
Yeah, and I looked at those and I remembered a lot of them from my childhood, and I was like, I hated all these movies because I don't care about babies and I don't care about animals.
Yeah.
Except for I think Black Beauty's on that list, and
Black
I think
Beauty is on
maybe as an adult I watched Black Beauty and thought that it was just a very well-made movie. Like it's really sweet and pretty, if I remember correctly. Like respecting that movie a lot more than loving it.
I remember renting that movie as a kid. I remember I remember going to the specific store. We had this little tiny convenience store in a town close by. Where you could rent movies. I'd get Cowtails and I'd rent a movie from there. That's all I remember.
Oh, fucking Cowtails.
Cowtails are great.
It's a good snack.
You got a fan in the chat, Richie Rye.
Let's go. Yeah, so like Andre, Monkey Trouble, all that shit as a kid even I didn't like it. I fucked with Homeward Bound because they were hilarious, but
Lassie's on there too. I forgot about Lassie, but I'm excited to give Black Beauty another try because I probably appreciate it more now.
Yeah, I'm interested in rewatching it because I do think I watched it like sometime in my adulthood, and we also like probably stayed away from it because it was coded for girls. Like horse movies were coded for girls, so we probably stayed away from them. But I remember watching as an adult and being like, "This is just a really, really well made movie."
I think I laughed too because I think there's a character Bates in there, the last name Bates, and somebody calls him Master Bates, and I think it's hilarious because I'm me. Shout out Michael J. Chance. Oh my, from Homeward Bound.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited to we're doing a lot of kids movies in things like this because this is our second kids month. Next month we're
more at least.
Yeah, next month we're doing Kids Hate Their Parents, which is a common theme here. We've got animated movies that are 2 Don Bluth, maybe 3 Don Bluth movies.
I'm excited about animated.
Except for Pagemaster. That movie I don't think holds up.
Also Culkin, right?
Yes, also Culkin. 3 Culkin movies so we got Richie Rich, Getting Even with Dad, which is next month's Kid Hates Parents, where his dad is con man Ted Danson.
Oh, interesting.
I never saw it, and he's got like long hair in it, and then Pagemaster. Yeah, so that's gonna
was The Good Son last year?
Ooh, when was The Good Son?
Well, and reading Wikipedia, like they called Richie Rich Macaulay Culkin's last movie until 2003.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it might be one of the other 1994 movies that's technically his last, like Pagemaster or something. But like, this is the year Culkin's gone for 10 years and like comes back saved or some shit.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say about Culkin in that movie, or in this movie, he's not good.
That's everything I read too. In fact, I was a little surprised with how willing adult reviewers were to be like, "This kid's not bringing it." Like the movie, they were like, "It's one of the worst parts of the movie is that he clearly like isn't enjoying being there."
Yeah, I thought he sucked in this movie. He wasn't as charming as he was in, especially. I mean, Home Alone. It's kind of hard to beat. Like, I mean, he in Uncle Buck. When I watched it this past December, he's great. I mean, that's obviously why they were like, okay, I'm going to put him in this Home Alone movie and let him go off. And I don't know, like older Macaulay Culkin, like older, but yeah, right here, I just don't feel like he's bringing it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, if this is when he like quits for 10 years, I don't know the whole story of his child acting experience. Like, I know he had feelings about it, but like he became the child actor and was being like, you know, pimped out for like 3 to 5 movies a year for multiple years in a row as a child. So if he's calling it in on Richie Rich, he's like, yeah, man, this is like all I do now. And he's probably not feeling it, and it may not be completely his fault as an actor or anything.
Yeah,
probably has more to do with like, I'm really sick of doing this shit.
And I think he had kind of a shitty home life too, like because of this, and like his parents pimping him and his 2 brothers out to be in all these movies. So
I mean, Richie Rich.
Yeah, like I can see him not having a good time. The Good Son's awesome.
Yeah, great movie. They also had just a random connection. It's not really that surprising when you think about it, but they did have like at least a Michael Jackson reference while Macaulay Culkin was on screen in 1994.
Yeah, was it a joke about Michael Jackson? Like
it was about his nose. It's when the laser knocks off her nose, and she says, "Oh, I look like Michael Jackson." And so I'm also wondering if like 1994 Macaulay Culkin like sees that joke and like, I mean, what he knows about like Michael Jackson as a celebrity / his friend, and what that, and it's just kind of crazy to think about now that, you know, he's like, yeah, I'm a superstar. So is my best friend Michael Jackson, and now I'm in the Richie Rich movie based on the comics. You know, it's just all so absurd.
Oh my! What are these comics from? They're like from the same universe as like Archie, right?
And all them. Yeah, I don't know the publisher's name, but they were old. They're really old comics.
Harvey Comics, is that
maybe back there like little Lulu or something? And
I think this is where Casper the Friendly Ghost comes from, because I have heard people say that they think that Casper is is the ghost version of Richie Rich because they're the same animation style or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Cool.
What do we got here in chat? Why was Baby's Day Out my favorite of the 3? Because you're an insane person.
I mean, I didn't watch it, but I know that's wrong.
He just loves Joe Mantegna and Joe Pantoliano and the dad Joey Pants and the dad from Spike's dad from Little Giants.
Who's the guy? Which one's the guy, the main crook who reminds me of Ray Romano and has been in a million things?
Joe Mantegna.
That's Joe Mantegna? Okay.
Yeah. Who is a great, like, I always get him confused with, I don't know why, Mandy Patinkin.
I thought the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
There was like a third of a second where I was like, is that Mandy? No, that's not him. Yeah.
Joe Mantegna. Oh, man. That fucking gorilla. You haven't gotten to it yet in Baby's Day Out, but there's a gorilla scene that it's not good.
I hate animal scenes.
Well, it looks so bad too. Like they just don't make it look good at all. I don't know. Maybe I think good gorilla work is in George of the Jungle.
Oh, I watched that movie a lot. Didn't love it, but it was around a lot.
I love that movie.
It was a few years later, but I remember Mighty Joe Young coming out, but I was just like, stop. Give me aliens with lasers. I'm sick of fucking animals.
Dunstan checks in. Ed.
We loved monkeys, man. Do you remember the monkey era where like CBS had all the interstitials? Throw monkeys into everything.
Monkey Trouble. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this as a comic book nerd. I was recently reminded of it. There was a time in like DC Comics, let's say 70s, 80s, Silver Age, I guess, and like they had done some behind the scenes number crunching, and they realized every time there was like a monkey or a gorilla on the cover, they sold like 15% more. And so all comics for like a while, like there's a famous one where Robin and Batman are leaving Gotham, and like Batman's carrying a gorilla with a bomb strapped to him. And he's like, "We gotta get rid of that bomb, or like, Gotham's gonna explode." Like on the cover, but it was like it could have just been a bomb. It didn't have to be a bomb strapped to a gorilla, but they were like, "Hey, we'll sell more if we put a gorilla on the cover." And then we revisited that on TV and movies in the '90s and early 2000s, monkeys and everything.
That's I had no idea any of that information. That's pretty awesome, though.
Pretty awesome, yeah.
Yeah. We did have like an obsession with animal movies. Free Willy came out the year before. That was a big hit. The Great Panda Adventure. Do you remember that movie?
Nope.
Man, I was super into those kind of movies. I was super into monkey movies.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay to be. I just, I don't know. I was a heartless little kid. Like, I just didn't like animals, and I didn't want to babysit an alien that didn't do anything cool. Like,
No, I think the last like animal movie that I was finally like, hey, okay, I'm done, is a movie called Slappy and the Stinkers.
this is the one that you wrote and produced, right?
I wish I wrote it. BD Wong is a teacher in this movie, and Jennifer Coolidge is in it with a weird accent, and it's about these kids with this seal.
Oh yeah,
that they're trying to hide from somebody, and his name's Slappy, and the Stinkers are like the He-Man Woman Haters Club kind of kids. That movie's pretty good.
Oh, I thought you said that's when you were done. I think.
No, I'm being sarcastic at this point, but yeah. No, that's when I was out. It was 1998. I was 11. I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done with these animal movies.
That leads me into a thought I had about these movies too, and growing up in the movies we did. Also, why they are probably just for people of a certain age, and most of them can't be enjoyed by younger people. But like, this is like, you start to see the beginnings of CGI here. And like, then we got a little annoyed where everything was CGI, and I was annoyed by it. And now everything still is, and I'm still a little annoyed by it. But I'm also like, oh, that's why I don't have to watch fucking movies about seals anymore.
Yeah, it's because you don't need to. They can generate them.
The computer, yeah.
And when they put time and effort into it, it can look good. Like, you can shit on Avatar movies as much as they want. They look pretty, and they're really well done, and they create animals.
That bee in Richie Rich looks pretty fucking good.
It actually didn't look bad.
Yeah,
you're right.
I was a little surprised. Which also, as a side note, the other thing I read on Wikipedia about Baby's Day Out was that they had to make like computer generated. This is like early CG stuff, and they had to make a computer generated cityscape for the background of the baby crawling around on shit. And they went to the special effects guy. He was like, "Hey, you're the 3D guy. Can you make a whole city?" And he was like, "I was hired last week." And they were like, "You're the only guy who knows 3D, so we need you to make an entire city." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And that was his job in the movie. Like, he got hired to this production company, and the next week they were like, "Do everything 3D for this movie immediately. We have a budget and a timeline." Like,
that's kind of what it sounds like for Marvel movies now, where they're just mistreating their visual effects people, and they're like, we have to get this out in 6 months, and they're like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah, I can imagine that those have kind of turned into like pretty shitty like studios. It's like that in video games too. There's a million pressures and false promises. And
I just think of the Enter the Matrix video game that they pushed out as quickly as possible to go along with the movie, and it just had so many bugs. And
I played that one. I think I rented it. And was like, this is a pretty cool game, but it broke every 30 seconds.
I was about to say, if you played it on Xbox, I think it's unbeatable. Like, you get to a spot and it will not work anymore.
I think I rented that game and like slogged through most of it and just got to a point that I couldn't get past. Like, it was just too buggy and it was stuck forever and had to give up. But liked the game underneath so much that I kept trying. Yeah.
I love that game. I bought the user guide or the gamer guide, Prima guide. Yeah, I got that guy. I still have it at my parents'
That's
house.
also funny because then you have to imagine like the people whose job was like to make the Prima guide for this game that doesn't work. They had to keep playing it, and they're like, I guess I'll just lie to the kids about like how to get through this level.
Exactly.
One last thought on that.
Yeah.
The set design in Richie Rich looks great, and it's kind of great in Blank Check too.
Is the mansion in Richie Rich? That's not the Bilt. Is that the Biltmore?
The outside is the Biltmore, but all of it's like very cartoon and comic-y, but like all of the like gilded banisters and stuff like that, and the like the Crossing R logos. Like everything's a little cartoony and comic-y and like, upsold, but it looks good. And it also reminded me like that kind of sold the movie too, as a kid, is that it looks like a Disney ride.
Is Richie Rich a better version of North by Northwest?
Not as hot as my ET take, but North by Northwest isn't great. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good movie, I guess.
It's all right. It's not my favorite Hitchcock, but
People love North by Northwest.
people love it. Yeah. I love Cary Grant. I mean, he's pretty awesome.
Why did you say that though? I don't understand.
At the ending scene, where they're hanging on the
yes, they're hanging off of Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore, yeah.
Well, Richie Rich was doing that as a reference to North.
Yeah.
That's cool, I guess.
I guess.
It's like watching. Also, as a kid, it's like watching the Animaniacs. In the '90s, you had way more like kid content, where some like old guy with a raspy voice was like, "Let's put in a Benny Hill reference." Like,
Yeah, I want to go. I would like. Oh no, the one that I never got was the Peter Lorre references that I would see in like Looney Tunes stuff, and they would bring them back in like Tiny Toons. I'm like, who the hell is Peter Lorre? So
yeah, which was one thing when like Looney Tunes and Tiny Toons were doing funny voices, and like an adult could be like, "That's Peter Lorre," and I could be like, "Funny voice," but yeah.
Terrified of that cartoon character, Peter Lorre. He's frightening. Now I love Peter Lorre. He's great.
He's amazing.
Hating on North by Northwest. Wow.
Well, you spelled it like a music festival, so
owned. You just got owned. You got pwned.
I go to North by Northwest every year.
We should start that festival.
Yeah, on Mount Rushmore.
Oh, I just noticed that somebody put this as their 5th worst movie on their year-end list on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sean P. Means of the Salt Lake Tribune. That's probably his only credit, is me saying his name on this podcast. So,
damn, take it, Sean.
Rich
got longer than him.
Richie Rich. He earned a Razzie nomination for this as worst actor, but lost out to Kevin Costner for Wyatt Earp.
Yeah, I did see that. You fuck the Razzies, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I am very much a proponent of fuck the Razzies.
Like, me and you can make fun of bad acting, but like when you make it like an industry thing that's published, and especially like you're going to throw a kid in there, going to give him an award for sucking at his job. He's not even supposed to have a job. They
punch down way too much. Yes. Yeah, they'll go after children actors. They'll go after like, I don't know, just there are a lot of first-time people on that list that are just making movies or making passion projects, and they'll go after those people. I don't like it, though.
Yeah, I'm crazy about it.
Yeah, fuck the Razzies. Also,
Ben's a lot. If you look up Razzie stuff, I've seen stuff like on Wikipedia where they're like, "This was nominated for a Razzie." I'm like, "This is pretty decent. You're just wrong."
Yeah, I don't even know I don't think I looked at the Razzie nominations this year because I do hate them so much. But that's a revelation over the last like 10 years that I've been like, I don't feel good about this.
My Razzies, top 5 Razzies: E.T., North by Northwest, Mrs. Doubtfire. Fuck that movie. Pretty lame to me.
Wow. Keep going.
I don't know. Do I have two more hot takes? 2
more Razzies.
I'll think about them. I'll give you my 2 Razzies. What do I hate that everybody loves? I guess everybody came around in Avatar.
Chariots of Fire. Forrest Gump.
No, I defend Forrest Gump.
Joseph would tell you Pulp Fiction.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, he hates Pulp Fiction.
I'm rewatching it because I feel like it's been enough time that I will be like, cool, whatever, Pulp Fiction. But we'll see. I mean, I got there with Goodfellas. Like, if I'll watch Goodfellas every few years, I guess. But like, and then when I do, I'm like, man, this isn't as good as I remember.
I love Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I need more information on Mrs. Doubtfire. Why do you hate it so much?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't rewatch it with you guys, so I might be wrong. As a kid, I didn't care for it as much. I was annoyed by his voice.
Oh, you don't like Robin Williams' voice?
Yeah.
Oh, the voice he does is Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes.
Okay.
He's right there.
I
Well,
thought
when
you-
you talk about disliking a Robin Williams voice, you really got to narrow it down. He's a man of a million voices.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I won't defend Mrs. Doubtfire that much. I mean, I like that movie a lot.
I bet it's a decent movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just didn't care for it as a kid that much.
I could see you watching, or any kid watching that movie, and outside of like Robin Williams doing ridiculous voices, being like, I don't know what the fuck this movie's about, because it's about divorce and it's about these children.
I actually might like it more now. I actually probably would be more touched now about his desire to be around his kids. I might find that a lot more moving than I ever did when I was younger.
I actually found him to be a shittier person in this.
Oh, I kind of remember you saying that.
Yeah. And me siding a little bit with the mom in the movie and being like, well, you do suck as a dad, or you do suck as a husband, and we don't deserve to be together. So, but yeah, and also the crimes he commits. That's right.
The crimes he commits.
Kidnapping his own children.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess a lot of times I was, as a kid, I just struggled with stuff that was meant for me when it didn't feel. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'll say, actually, I'll say this. It reminded me of during Blank Check, and circling back around to his relationship with the FBI agent. I wish they had just taken that whole plot out and they had given him some friends, like friends he had before he got rich, and then after, and given him a journey of learning that materialism isn't everything and that friendship is more important. If they'd given him that movie's full of adults. There's one kid and all the other kids are in the background, and then it's like all adults.
What if Richie Rich was in this movie and became his friend to teach him, like, hey, money isn't everything. I just want to go play baseball with you guys.
Yeah.
I want to be a normie like you.
The crossover.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Or what about that little punk kid who was a little bitch? Like, what if he like ditched his his like nerdy friends and then like started hanging out with cool kids because he's got money, and then like once the money was gone, he had to learn, like, oh, but these people were here for me the whole time, that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah, but the only thing Preston is left with is a guy in his early 40s that he'll probably never talk to again, right?
Yeah, I always wondered what was going to happen to them afterwards. I was like, you guys are just going to hang out?
Now we got problems, Henry.
They even have that scene in the movie where Henry's going out to hang out with his imaginary friends. Yeah. And then he's playing video games alone, and he's got the boxing gloves on alone, and like he's looking around. He's like, well, I don't know, man. I'm all alone. I feel lonely now. And I'm like, oh, this is a perfect scene for the plot that I'm talking about, but it doesn't quite make sense in this movie. And so also, yeah, like I don't need going back to maybe why it's a little inappropriate. It's like, I don't need this little kid to like be horny and want a girlfriend, like an adult girlfriend. Like, yeah, I don't want to fulfill the fantasy that the movie's providing is that he gets to be a kid with no rules and consequences. And that maybe I like the idea that he's more materialistic and wants to be popular. And then by the end enjoys the boundaries of being a kid and what real friendship means, and materialism's not that important. That's better than like, I guess age is something more than a number.
So what is the point of Blank Check then?
What is the point? He gets away with everything too. At the end, the guy's like, I'm Macintosh. I'm like, all right, you're going to prison forever. We'll never figure out what really happened here.
I mean, if the house fits, that's yours.
I don't know. He learns to appreciate his family, which like the dad sells in that speech pretty well, but I don't think the movie sells as a point very well.
And I mean, his brothers suck. Like he doesn't have. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't have friends at the end of it. Mm-hmm. Maybe he gets along a little bit better with his dad. They understand each other a little bit better now. But
he didn't learn a specific lesson about money. Yeah, and he didn't learn really a specific lesson about his boundaries either. I mean, he's a little kid as an actor, does a good job when his dad's talking to him. He's like, yeah, I do want to go home. I'm sick of this. Like, but like, I don't know. It's not really earned as a lesson. Richie Rich doesn't have a lesson, does it?
No, not really. Because he doesn't really learn anything. I think the kids
he doesn't grow as a character.
No, I think the kids in the movie that he becomes friends with learn somewhat like, hey, being rich doesn't automatically make you a dick.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
so
the
he
lesson.
Does get something new. He finally gets to be a kid in a way he wasn't. But they were they didn't make the parents mean in any way, or like his
Mm-mm.
butler mean in any way. So it was just like a thing he had to, it just had to get done.
So none of
This
these
is
kids are
really
learning
good.
lessons.
That little girl was really good.
That baby didn't learn a lesson in Baby's Day Out.
I assume the baby survives, right?
Yes, yes, the baby definitely survives.
Baby
Although,
Binky.
yeah,
Bink.
Baby Bink, and they at one point they rescue him, and then he gets mad because he wants his book, which the book is at the hideout of the 3 people, and that's how they catch the 3 kidnappers. Is they go back for the book, and he knows exactly where it's at.
Oh,
It's like,
you know, a better version of this came later. Episode 1 of Rugrats.
I thought you were going to say episode 1 of Star Wars. I was like, okay, whatever.
The Phantom Menace, hear me out. Oh, this is pod racing. No, the
This
first
is
episode
Wizard.
of Rugrats, which I watched the day it came on air. It is Tommy Pickles doesn't have friends yet, doesn't speak at all, I'm pretty sure. It's just a baby, and then he accidentally gets kidnapped by criminals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, until he's so annoying, I think the criminals give him back or something.
Tommy gets abducted. I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the first episode.
I think you're right. I think I just typed it in. Ruthless Tommy? Being mistaken as the son of millionaire Ronald Thump.
Ronald Thump. He's everywhere in the 90s. I had no idea.
Tommy is kidnapped by thugs named Bob and Mike, but the kidnappers find out it was more trouble than it was worth when Tommy begins flushing their stolen loot down the toilet.
Yep.
That is a better version. Ronald Thump is
Takes
funny.
the day out, but it keeps it under half an hour.
Man, now I kind of want to watch it just for the Ronald Thump thing.
It's got like a good like early Simpsons vibe too, where you see the animation being like a little, and the sound design being pretty janky. Again, they haven't been Tommy friends yet, and he doesn't talk.
And the 2 kidnappers resemble Harry and Marv from Home Alone. Yeah,
Nice.
Donald Trump, Ronald Thump, he's everywhere.
And Richie Rich, right after the Michael Jackson thing, I thought they were doing a Donald Trump thing because he fires. He says, "You're fired," and I was like, "Oh, that actually comes later."
That's after. That's definitely after. No, none of the slapstick hit for anyone else. I did tell you weren't in here yet, but I was saying that I think this, like, it would work better as a silent movie and less like the stupid stuff, like just any of the dialogue. I said it works better as just for the slapstick stuff, but I did not enjoy it that much because it wasn't like, it's not good slapstick in the way of like you, and I really am not trying to be pretentious or anything like that. But if you watch a Buster Keaton movie, it's really good. Or if you watch a Jackie Chan movie, it's really good, like stunt work and impressive, even while doing slapstick. I think that's good stuff. Like, I don't know, some of the slapstick stuff doesn't work for me from the 90s as much as it did when I was a kid.
And I don't think it worked for me that much as a kid. And that's me being pretentious as a fucking 8-year-old.
I believe that.
Give me deep lore. I want world building. But yeah, definitely Jackie Chan worked for me. And when I learned about Buster Keaton, that worked for me. But that's just like kind of being mind blown by the art and craft of it. But like, yeah, it's so many pies in the face and nut shots in the 90s that even as a kid, I didn't give a fuck about.
Yeah, I did. I was not
because it goes so hard because it makes you cringe.
Yeah, I think that probably. Like America's Funniest Home Videos. I never liked America's Funniest Home Videos. Like one of the rare. I don't know if you did or not, but I did not enjoy it. The thing I enjoyed about America's Funniest Home Videos was when he did that voice for the Jackalope, and I thought the Jackalope videos were the funniest thing ever. Not dads getting hit in the nuts or anything like that. It was Bob Saget doing a voice of a freaking bunny with antlers tied to it. So.
Yeah, I didn't care for that stuff either. So I was never a slapstick kid that much.
I love the body launches, is what Joseph says. The only time I liked that was in Homeward Bound when they vault that cougar into the air. That was the best part.
What about the Kitapult? Pretty cool.
I saw it in Robin Hood, and it was way better.
Oh, true.
Prince of Thieves.
Will Scarlet, yeah.
Yeah. That's the first time. Fun fact about that movie for everybody here.
Mhm.
That was the first time I ever said the word fuck.
That
Because
you
in the
ever said
movie,
it?
Christian Slater, after they launch
Mhm.
Robin over the wall with the catapult, he says, "Fuck me, it worked."
Yes,
And
fuck
I
me, it worked.
repeated it. And my mom goes, "No, you do not say that." And
Okay, so honestly, this also might be why a lot of things directed at kids didn't work for me. I wasn't like exposed, especially not by my parents, to like a lot of adult shit before time. Like it was time for me to, but my babysitter for like a whole summer or a year, just we would show up at it's probably a summer because we spent all day at her house, and me and my older brother would show up at her house at like 7 a.m. Or 6:30 a.m. And the first thing we would do every single morning was watch Prince of Thieves all the way through. And I was like 8 years old. And so I saw a lot more adult shit in that. And then I was like, yeah, this is a big scary world with sword fighting and witchcraft and like heroism and slapstick stuff and sex. And so then when I like later on when like we were going to Blockbuster and I had to watch Richie Rich, I was like, this doesn't kind of hold up for me very well.
I get that, and
Yeah.
I feel very similar in this. We probably have similar like getting to watch those kind of movies. Robin Hood worked for me. Three Musketeers, the Disney one we watched last year, that really worked for me. I loved stuff like that. It was
I love fantasy and historical stuff. I definitely love like
Yeah.
sword violence. That was big.
If Pirates of the Caribbean would have come out in the 90s, I would have been all about it. I was pretty all about it when it came out, but
Imagine if like the coolest part was Jack Sparrow was like, "Oh, I really like Reese's Pieces." I hid in your stuffed animals, little girl. Boring.
he's going after E.T. again. It's about an absent father.
Jaws ain't shit.
Whoa, bro.
Jaws is extremely well made, and I've never enjoyed watching it.
I hate that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. You're just hurting my feelings all over the place.
I don't like animal movies.
We lost 2 viewers just because of that. I don't know where they went, but as soon as you said that, I dropped them. They were gone.
Yeah.
They're like, this is a dumb fucking podcast. Oh, no, that hurts. E.T.
Yeah.
and Jaws.
Yeah.
Next, you're going to come for Raiders of the Lost Ark. No, you
Oh,
won't.
no,
because you love history shit.
I love history shit,
And
I love
the
real
Bible.
danger, I guess. Not animal danger. Jurassic Park fucking slaps. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, but those aren't real animals.
Those aren't real animals. Yeah, and they look cooler and they're scary.
They are so good, though.
I love 1942. I'm just kidding. It's only
1941.
1941. Yeah.
You're the only one
Yeah.
that likes that movie. I prefer the Sugarland Express, but
I've never seen it.
got to get on that. What is that in my chat? What is that? Somebody made a octopus?
It's a kraken?
Oh, a kraken?
An octopus. Pirates of the Caribbean reference?
Maybe. Get that out of here. Get those squids out of here. All right. Anything? What have we missed? Have we missed anything that we need to talk about?
No.
I got to talk about my lesbian relationship in Baby's Day Out. I got to talk about the weird kiss in Blank Check. Even though we didn't talk about any of the cool stuff that he had.
That is the central thing of the movie that's going to get kids to love it. Is like the wish fulfillment, right? And he has a lot of cool shit.
He's got the go-karts, badass. The
water slide was huge.
The water slide was very, very cool. The video game wall, like the TVs, which I still don't know if I love that. Like, I think all of like the splits would bug me. I don't think seeing the full screen would bug me.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, you're privileged from the future.
No, I am.
That was like
right.
technology back then.
You're right. What else? Did he have anything else cool? Oh, the like blow up stuff, but I'm not into that stuff.
Yeah. And then me as a jaded adult was like, it's just gonna rain. You don't take that shit down. Like,
it's just gonna rain and get moldy, and who's gonna clean this up? And oh, you're gonna eat all that ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And
now that I'm thinking about it too, that's the only interior set is the TVs, and it's only mostly see it from one angle, and everything else is in a yard, right? So they have like the Biltmore. Well, that's Richie Rich, but like they have the castle thing from the outside. They have the one interior room,
Mhm.
and then the rest of it is like all kind of narrow shots of what's going on. So they just like can set it up in a lot somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that I did look up the castle. I think it's in Austin, Texas.
Mhm.
And
Can I get it for $300,000?
no, you cannot get it for $300,000. He overpaid so much before that. I mean, overpaid. What was the initial price? Like 160?
Yeah, well, his first offer was 160 because guy was about to get it for 150, and I was like, Jesus, yeah,
Yeah,
I can't
I'll
get
pay 150 right now. And I
Yeah.
looked that up and it was that, yeah, like 150 in that time is like 300 now.
it. Mhm.
But yeah, he essentially just obviously paid double that just to get that castle.
And that was a third of his money.
And I think it's yeah, and then he was like, how much money did he have at negative money? He couldn't pay Felicia Rashad's sister.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, it's her. She's from Debbie Allen. So she's from Fame. She's also like
Okay.
a famous dance coordinator, all this stuff. So choreographer, not coordinator.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, Debbie Allen. That's
All right.
Felicia Rashad's sister.
Nice.
Fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was. He had like $300 left at the end. I remember like I do remember having that thought where he was like looking at the big screen and was like, "You've only got $392 left," and I was like, "Man, I wish I had $392."
It's sad. It's sad
Yeah.
that we need
No.
that I would be like, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Spent $1 million in 6 days. I'll
That's
still
cool.
never get over it. And then Baby's Day Out sucks.
And then Baby's Day Out sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Grow up a little and then come back and talk to me. I went Teens Day Out. The Ferris Bueller Teen Day Out.
Teens Day
Great
Out.
movie. Yeah.
I don't think I could get away with making the movie Teens Day Out.
Yeah.
Come, teen. Please be in my movie, teens. Oh man. Well,
No,
this
I
has
think
been-
that's all I got.
yeah, this has been good. This has been fun. And way better than the last one. So I think I'll just keep it with this like free form. I like this. So
Yeah.
thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And just for everybody else, like I had already mentioned it, but next month we're going to be doing Kids Hate Their Parents. The movies that we'll be watching for that one are North, which is considered one of the worst movies of all time, but I fucking love North and will defend it to the end of the world. Trading Mom, which I remember loving as a kid too. Getting Even with Dad, and then another kind of like wish fulfillment movie, Camp Nowhere. So we get
Oh
a little
yes,
bit of
I'm
camp.
interested to rewatch that. Camp Nowhere is the only one I've heard of before, and I only saw it like once as a kid. I was way into heavyweights and a little more Ernest Goes to Camp than Camp Nowhere. But Christopher Lloyd, right?
Yes, Christopher Lloyd and a bunch of teen actors from the 90s that you'll recognize all of them. So
Yeah, we'll see.
I look forward to that one. That'll be at the end of March. And then this Sunday, we're going to be we're starting our Oscars month, 4 Weddings and a Funeral. We're kicking that off this Sunday. So we'll see everybody then. Hopefully you can watch that movie for free on Tubi right now. So go do it. Other than that, that's everything for you on 52/1994. Thank you all for being here. Hit that follow if you haven't already. We love it. Just get there. Just hit it. All right, I'm done. All right. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.